everyone. Welcome to another episode of Onwards and Upwards, where we speak to entrepreneurs who have never let go of their dreams and passions and have moved onwards to create a success story. On our second episode, it's my pleasure to be in conversation with Solomon Salvis, CEO at SimuRise Learning. Solomon is a game-based learning specialist who's been in the training industry for more than a decade and is one of the pioneers in India for game-based learning solutions. Hi, Solomon. Welcome to another episode of Onwards and Upwards by Jupiter Learning. And this is just an initiative to get in touch with entrepreneurs like you who have struggled hard and have moved onwards to create a journey for themselves. And we would love to know about your journey, your struggles, and the story behind the success. So welcome once again, and it's a pleasure to meet you today. A business coach, a leadership expert, a marathoner, a yoga practitioner, Iron Man. So I don't know where to stop. So let's begin with the first question is, let's get to know you a little bit. So
Sure.
Tell us about Solomon. Tell us about the man behind SimuRise.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandhya, for having me, and wishing you all the very best in your endeavors.
Thank you.
Of course, I would love to talk a little bit about this bald fellow, the man behind SimuRise. But I'll probably go back in my earlier days. And what I'm going to do, Sandhya, is I'm going to be a little vulnerable throughout this entire session. Things I'm going to share, which probably I've not shared maybe for the last 45 years of my life. Right?
Okay.
And going to be as honest as possible, as open as possible.
And you know, that's the whole idea behind our talk show. We would love to know the real struggle and, you know, what goes behind the scenes and not just about the success. So we would love to hear about you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So I go back in my journey of life when I was born, Sandhya, just to tell you. When I was born and I opened my eyes, I found out that I'm staying in a 10 by 10 hut. A 10 by 10 hut in Bombay language, it's called as Jhopadpatti, right? A 10 by 10 hut, which is cow dung mixed with black mud, were the flooring for me. Sticks threaded together and shaded with cow dung were the walls for me. Red tiles thatched together and undercovered with sticks were the ceiling for me. Open ground for toilets and well water for drinking is how I started my life in the city of Mumbai from the 10 by 10 hut.
Hey.
I was very lucky that my parents managed to put me into an English school, because most of my friends and neighbors were into the local Marathi or Hindi vernacular schools. I was very lucky to complete my 10th standard, my 12th standard, and then I did very well in my 12th standard maths, and I was pushed into engineering. And I completed my computer engineering. After I completed my computer engineering, I started working for one of the IBM business partners.
Okay.
Right, selling laptops and desktops and IBM AS400 and RS6000 servers.
Okay.
So as part of the sales strategy, we were supposed to go to the topmost building in the South Mumbai business area of Nariman Point and go right up there on the 20th or the 21st floor and try knocking on each doors and try and sell computers to them.
Wow. Okay.
All right. That's how we did for a long period of time. My efforts really gave a lot of results out of that. In 3 years' time, I became one of the first IBM solution sales specialists in the entire country.
Wow. Okay. Impressive.
I was also awarded as the best salesperson by IBM.
Ah.
And then the managing director of IBM gave me a letter of appreciation, a 5,000 rupees check, a Nokia 6110i mobile, and the company gave me a ticket to Kathmandu to stay there in the swankiest of the hotel called Hotel Solti Crowny and be part of a business conference there.
A very well-earned one, I should say.
Absolutely, absolutely. In that business conference, Sandhya, I happened to meet Shiv Khera, India's foremost motivational and leadership trainer then.
Right.
Highly mesmerized by Shiv Khera, I came back with the thought that I also want to impact thousands and thousands of people. And with that thought, when I came back to Mumbai, the first thing which I did was immerse myself into various learning and development.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Nursi Monji College, did my skills development diploma. Mm-hmm. Then I went to Aparesh Acharya's MILT program, very powerful, rigorous leadership development program. Then I did my IIM Calcutta senior management program. Then I went to Marshall Goldsmith and got myself certified as an executive coach. I went to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within program in Singapore, and then got myself trained and certified by some of the best business simulation companies in the world. And then with close to around 25 to 30 lakh rupees of investment on this ball fellow, I jumped into learning and development to train corporates. Mostly they are CEOs, CXOs, senior management, middle management, junior management people. Over the last 20 years, I've managed to train more than 100,000 corporate professionals and entrepreneurs in more than 20 different countries.
Wow, what a journey, starting from a chawl in Mumbai to where you've reached today. Amazing, amazing.
Absolutely. So that's one of the beautiful messages which I want to give, probably using that same story. If this boy from a 10 by 10 hut can reach to this level, I'm sure most of them who are born, I will not say silver spoon, but still can do much, much, much better than what I've done in my life.
A truly inspiring, self-motivational story, Solomon. But tell me, what was that one driving force that pushed you towards taking that step?
There have been super steps which I've taken through my entire life. All right.
Yeah, but like they say, the first step is the defining step, or the first step is the change, right? So what was that first step that pushed you towards this career?
So one is, if I look at some of my mentors, beautifully talk about the pain and pleasure, right? I was in real deep pain throughout my entire life, because we came from a very small background. Okay, the learning which I got throughout my entire life created this Solomon, created the transformation of this Solomon. All right. So with that thought in mind, can I transform other people's life is the biggest motivator for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think you're doing a great job in that, I must say. One thing that I've always found very inspiring about you is your dedication to your fitness, and your dedication to I believe you want to continue to participate in Ironman for the next 40 years. I mean, I cannot even imagine having a goal for the next 4 years. So it's just amazing. Where do you get that drive from?
All right. So let me give you a little more perspective on this. One is, as you're aware, that I call myself as a game-based learning specialist.
Yes.
All right. So why game-based learning specialist? Because I love playing games in my personal life, and I make people play business games in their professional lives. Right. I'm a lot into health and fitness, as you're aware. Over a quick overview of my journey for the last a little less than a decade, completed 21 full marathons, 21 half marathons, 3 full marathons, been part of the Guinness Book of World Record for being among the largest backward race, among the top 5 winners for doing 300 Surya Namaskars at one go.
Oh my God, 300
Surya Namaskars.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And just to top it on, I have completed my Ironman 70.3 challenge twice in a row. For some of our viewers who don't know what Ironman challenge is, it's one of the most difficult endurance sports in the world, where you have to swim for 1.9 kilometers in the sea, and then you have to cycle for 90 kilometers, and then you have to run for 21.1 kilometers, one after the other, in 8.5 hours, or you get disqualified.
Wow.
Right?
Amazing.
So I've done that twice, but one of the most beautiful things, as you beautifully mentioned, Sandhya, is I will continue my Ironman journey for the next 40 years of my life.
Wow.
Right? Why am I so now fanatic about my health and fitness? It all boils down with some of my experiences in life. All right. So I come from a family who had a history of diabetics, blood pressure, and heart problems. My dad, at the age of 42, had a severe heart attack.
Oh.
Right? And then he was out of action for most of the time.
Oh.
After a few months, I actually went to my doctor, my family doctor, and I asked him, my dad, my mom, my grandfather, my grandmother, and quite a lot of people in my family had this lifestyle disease. What is the guarantee that I would not have the same disease? And he said, Solomon, if you follow the footsteps of your father and mother and all the other people and live the same lifestyle, for sure you're going to have it in you. But in your case, it'll be much faster because of the amount of fast life and stressed life which you've been living.
Right.
Right. So that was one of my first biggest trigger to start my exercise regime. Right. And you'll not believe, I did my first 42 kilometers full marathon at the age of 42.
Oh,
Simply because my father had a heart attack at the age of 42.
Wow. And, somebody with so much dedication, this is about discipline, Solomon, more than anything.
That's right.
So, how do you manage to have that consistency? And I think when you have that discipline in one aspect in your life, it just percolates into everything else. So how has it changed the way you look at things or your perspective, or, has it affected you when you take your decisions in a professional life also?
Absolutely. So, but before I go into my decisions out over, there's one more reason which I want to share with you. My second daughter, the difference between me and my second daughter is almost 40 years.
Oh, okay.
All right. Which means that by the time she's 20, I'm going to be 61. All right. So, and I just love my daughter and playing with her and carrying her along. And I want to ensure that I will continue playing with her even when she's 20, even when she's 30, even when she's 40 years.
I think that's a beautiful motivation. I think that's
Absolutely.
a beautiful thought.
So which has ensured that I have non-negotiable standard as per my health and fitness is concerned.
Okay.
I haven't taken a single day off from my exercise regime, at least for the last 10 to 12 years.
Really?
A single day off.
Oh my God. I think that should put you in the Guinness Book of World Records, Solomon. Amazing. How do you get that dedication? How do you get that discipline? It's just, I think your motivations are so high, and you've taken it so seriously that it's just amazing. I can't even imagine consistently going for a walk for 1 week. 12 years is amazing.
Yeah. One of the most beautiful thing which has happened in my life is my wife.
Okay.
And she is my super motivation.
Oh, wonderful. Which brings me to a lovely question. That's one of the questions I had. For every entrepreneur, support system is very, very important. So I guess that's, we would love to, what's her name, by the way?
My wife's name is Annie.
Annie, okay.
Yeah.
And your kids?
My elder one is Ira, and the younger one is Sarah.
Oh, beautiful names. So
Thank
one
you.
of your support systems is Annie. We know. What else? Who do you think is the support system that has helped you push you towards the place where you are today?
So just to add to my support system, which is my wife, if I may loosely use the word for her as my chief operating officer of my life.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Absolutely. So she's been an amazing support.
Okay.
And she herself is a health and fitness freak.
Oh,
She also happens to have her name in the Guinness Book of World Record as well. So
wow.
we are
So
probably
it's
one
a
of the
match
rare
made in heaven. Wonderful. Oh, that's just beautiful. And what is her record for?
So for the largest number of people doing plank. So
Amazing, amazing. So
yeah.
I think I have to rethink about, either talking to Annie or you and, as a personal coach and get into a fitness program with you guys. Oh, this is just wonderful. So who else do you think, has really helped you reach where you are today?
So one of the most beautiful thing which has happened is my team. And when I say my team, it's two parts. One is my internal team.
Mm-hmm.
And second is the entire partner ecosystem which I have with me, right? And so when I speak about my team, my sales team, my marketing team, a lot of my team is also outsourced, maybe from a finance perspective, maybe from the facilitators. And I've got some brilliant facilitators along with me throughout this entire world. We've certified close to around now 22 facilitators just after the pandemic in different countries. So they have been my awesome, brilliant source as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, amazing. So coming back to our main topic, Solomon, game-based learning.
Right.
When people talk about training, it's usually an idea of a serious learning initiative which an organization brings, and you don't really play when you're learning, right? Especially when you talk about senior management and people at that level. So how have people, what has been your approach, or how have people taken the entire idea of game-based learning? How difficult has it been for you to bring out this concept?
Sure. Thank you. So when I say game-based learning or business simulation as a concept, is learn by doing, learn by practicing, learn by making mistakes from self and mistakes of others. In a simulated environment, the natural behavior of a person comes out. This is exactly how we are on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So to empower their values, mindsets, skills, right? We immerse them into simulated learning environment.
Okay.
All right. And that's where once they have the experience and we make them reflect on the experience, the learning happens. All right. And that's exactly what we have been doing using our game-based learning, our business simulations as a process.
Okay.
One of my name to fame has been one of my simulation called the Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine.
Okay.
Now, this is a simulation which we use to help people to connect, communicate, and collaborate. And this has been a major challenge with most of the organizations which we have worked with, is people have just not been sharing best practices. They've not been communicating with each other. They've not been collaborating to win for the organization. It always has been I versus we.
Right.
All right. And my entire last 1 decade of work is how can I make people collaborate with each other and have we focused more than I. And what best can you bring that from a game? And when you make people see their behaviors impacting the goal of the organization, and then they realize and reflect, saying that had I played collaboratively, together we could have won much more. Right? And initially it was difficult for me to make that transition for people. That's exactly what our mission is, that how can I make organizations and people transition from a pure play classroom training into a game-based learning environment, a business simulation environment. All right. But we were very lucky over a period of last 10 years. We got some awesome opportunity to work with most of the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 companies in banking, financial services, insurance, IT, ITS, pharma, FMCG, media, and so on.
Wonderful, wonderful. But, I think one of the challenges as trainers that we often face is, especially in the kind of training that you're dealing in, you don't see the, you can't quantify and say that, hey, this is what I'm going to bring to your organization. It's a very, very, qualitative kind of input that you're giving, the results of which will be seen probably over a period of time.
That's right.
So how do you deal with, people taking your learning approach seriously?
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. One of the most beautiful things which you've done in 2 parts is one is, of course, the immediate realizations and reflection which people give just after they have experienced. Right? That is one of the biggest ROI which organizations have got.
Okay.
And there are huge amount of testimonials which say that. Right?
Okay.
A lot of CEOs and CXOs and senior management people saying that, I never thought I could have done things differently.
Right.
All right. So that's one beautiful anchor point for us, saying that, okay, this is a big difference which happens. The other big difference which has happened is a lot of organizations, when the CEOs and the CXOs and the HR heads move from one organization to the second organization, and they call us up. I mean, this is a situation which we had a couple of years back when we conducted a program for the leadership team of Mahindra and Mahindra. And the HR person from there left and he joined another company.
Okay.
And he calls me up after 6 years. And he says, Solomon, you remember you conducted a program for a team out over there, and we had this issue of communication and collaboration, and you conducted this awesome program. We have a similar situation in my new organization. Can you do that for us?
Awesome. So I think that's the biggest testimonial that we get as trainers. Awesome. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
So linking on to this, Solomon, tell me, what are the joys that you see, as an entrepreneur? What are those moments that you feel that, it was all worth it, and, all this struggle, it's all worth it? So what are those moments that come up, when you think about your entrepreneurship journey?
Personally, for me, is the big goal which I have is how can I impact 10,000 professionals who would go on and impact 1 million professionals worldwide. All right. So that is one of my biggest joy when I see a lot of entrepreneurs coming forward, getting themselves certified through our entire SimuRise universe. And we've now got facilitators certified in more than 7 different countries just after the lockdown, right? That was the biggest joy for me, is how can I impact people out over there.
And you brought up the pandemic in the last 1 year, so I would like to ask, that's been a very uncomfortable year, I think, for people everywhere, irrespective of the field that you're working in. So how was it for you guys, suddenly not having any trainings to do, moving from no contact with your learners, and then suddenly moving to a virtual environment? How was your journey in the last 1 year?
Sure. Okay. I'll probably go back to the month of Jan and Feb last year. We were doing some super amount of work with various corporates of conducting classroom-based business simulation. That's exactly what we were right, doing in a big way. I also actually, in the month of Feb, because the programs were going on well, because a lot of facilitators were coming to us, I created an inventory of close to around $150,000 of my kits in my house.
Oh.
Right. And that was just before the COVID hit us.
Oh.
Right. COVID hit us in the month of March in a big way. all our programs got cancelled, all our training calendars got cancelled. Nobody coming and buying our kits at that time, right? Literally, for the month of March and April, my hands were up in the air, literally wondering, what am I going to be doing next? Luckily for us, in the month of May, we launched our first online simulation. And then what we did was we started inviting a lot of corporate professionals, started inviting a lot of learning and development professionals, and making them experience our online simulation. Every Saturday, practically, we were conducting programs. And then over a period of time, we got a lot more solutions under our umbrella. And in just this 9 months or 10 months journey, we have trained more than thousands and thousands of professionals and entrepreneurs in 20 different countries.
Wow. So the world has actually become a smaller place for you in the last 1 year. Wonderful. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I was so thrilled when I was doing this program for a company, for Tech Mahindra. And we had people from 4 continents and 10 different countries.
Wow. Wonderful. So your entire perspective now has moved from, a classroom-based learning and business simulations to an online methodology, right?
That's right.
So that's a drastic change, where you have very little control on the learner's reactions and, the learner's involvement. How have you guys dealt with it? And, how different do you feel or are you itching to go back to the classroom methodology on a one-on-one system?
All right. So let me tell you, last year, in the month of September or so, I met up with a CEO who was into virtual game-based learning. And he came to me and he said, Solomon, you're doing some phenomenal amount of work in the classroom business simulation space. Why don't you also experience and delve into the online space? And this was last year when we were doing so much amount of work in the classroom training. And you know what? I gave him 10 different reasons why a virtual learning will not work.
No, I think it's time to meet the gentleman again.
But come, and that's the dilemma which I was having in the month of March and April is how do I transition? Not only transition, but Sandhya, this is one important thing, that our game-based learning is a highly engaging, highly immersive, super energy. And how can we create the same level of engagement and immersion in the virtual environment? Right. And that's exactly what we started doing when I launched my first online simulation. How can I make it highly engaging, highly immersive, right? And some of my programs were for 3 hours. And the feedback which we got from most of the participants saying that, we just never figured out how 3 hours just went by, right? So one is, of course, this bald fellow keeps them highly engaged, but the games itself are so brilliantly created that they themselves give some super learning and make it as fun as possible.
Okay. So tell me something, Solomon, if, what are some of the key learnings or, okay, before I ask you that, let's go back and why don't you show us a small journey of SimuRise, how the entire idea started and what you've been doing and, how you've reached what it is today.
Sure. Well, I'll start with the word SimuRise.
And I love the tagline, by the way. I think it's just very, very inspiring.
Thank you so much, Sandhya. Thank you so much. So the word SimuRise, with all my experience over last almost a decade, right? Being into game-based learning, being into business simulation, the word simu comes from simulation. So simulated learning, it comes from there, right? One. So through the simulated learning, can we develop values, key behavior, skills, and mindsets of people, So that's one element of the semi part of it. Second element is the rise. Rise comes from sunrise. So with every new sunrise, there is a new hope, there is a new opportunity, there is a new possibility, there is new growth. So with the game-based learning, with the simulated learning, can we create a sunrise in the life of the participant and help him to rise, or her to rise from one orbit of the life to the next orbit of life.
Beautiful. And I think you're putting all your passion and energy into doing that. So wonderful. So tell me, what was the initial journey of SimuRise? What were some of the struggles that you had in the beginning, and what were the major obstacles when you started off? How is it, reached where you have reached today?
Sure, thank you. So SimuRise actually started a company in Singapore. And we started in Singapore with doing various things. We did a lot of business in Singapore. And I had my intention of taking my entire family, lock, stock and barrel, to Singapore. Right? Unfortunately, the visa for Singapore did not go through.
Okay.
Right? And I tried that one time, then I tried after 6 months, the second time, but that really did not happen. And then the business deal which we had in Singapore went wrong.
Okay.
And I unfortunately lost close to around $100,000.
Whoa.
Of money out over there.
Wow.
Right. Simultaneously, luckily for us, we started SimuRise learning in India as well. And of course, it was solo. So it was a journey which I started all by myself. So a couple of things which I did was I ensured that I reach out to a lot of learning and development organizations, trainers and facilitators who became as part of my extended team. And then of course we reached out a lot of sales, a lot of marketing which we did to reach out to a lot of corporates. All right. And we got our first breakthrough, and then we got a second breakthrough. So like that, we kept on moving and moving and moving. And now over a period of time, we've managed to train thousands and thousands of professionals, corporate professionals and entrepreneurs in just this post-pandemic time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So from your journey, what do you think are some of the key learnings that you think you would like to share with people who want to get into the learning and development industry, and entrepreneurs in general, irrespective of the field they are, there's some common struggles which all of us face. So what are some of the key learnings you think that you would like to share with budding entrepreneurs or people who are sailing the same boat?
Sure, thank you. So one of the most beautiful thing about our name SimuRise is what we have done is we've picked up the rise and created the core values for the organization. All right. And simply, these are my core values, which I loved, and which I imbibed and which I live on a day-to-day basis. So the RISE stands for resourceful.
Okay.
All right. Resources versus resourcefulness. Okay. My experience is resources are never a problem. In fact, resources are galore. But do we have the emotional state of being resourceful to get things done?
Right.
All right. So that's one most important learning which I would want every entrepreneur to start taking. Can you be a resourceful person? So that's R for resourceful. I for inspiration. Who's your inspiration to go to the next level? Right? That's one. But most important thing, how can you be an inspiration, a role model to the others?
Beautiful.
Right? So that's second. Third is S stands for synergy. And my entire success over the last decade or so has been because of all the collaboration which has happened throughout the entire world. Right? You all by yourself cannot win all the battles. You are not a Superman. Right. So you require a team, an internal team, an extended team. So how can you brilliantly synergize with people so that you can make things happen in a bigger, better manner?
Right.
All right. And the last one is the E, which stands for excellence. Mm-hmm. Right. One of my mentors used to say, do your very best and a little more. Right. So give your best in anything and everything which you're doing and create that excellence inside you, inside your product, inside your solutions, inside the work which you're doing. Right. So that's the RISE philosophy of Solomon, of SimuRise, which I would love to share with other entrepreneurs.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, it has been a difficult journey for you, but I think you beautifully put out the core values. And I think that's what sometimes we forget in our journey, beautiful. But tell me, Solomon, in this entire journey, has the fear of, making a wrong decision or fear of failure, has that ever affected your decision making?
So Sandhya, one of my mentors, and the reason I'm talking a lot is because of my awesome mentors around me.
Okay.
So one of my mentors talks about failure is an option.
Okay.
All right. Only after you've possibly failed, right, you'll be able to arrive. So when I'm saying fail, I'm saying you just fail and have more experiences and more experiences in life. I have failed a lot in my life, but I'm not a failure. Right? So mistakes are part of learning. Mistakes are part of learning, and they can be a stepping stone for your success.
That's I think a very good perspective to look at. That I have failed at a lot of things, but I'm not a failure. Wonderful. Solomon, also then tell me, when you're at the helm of things that, there are a lot of things that you need to look at, and there's a lot of multitasking that happens. So, is there ever any fear of, missing out some details, or, have you ever feared that, if you delegate, you might not do it, it might not get done in the right manner? How do you overcome those?
Sure. So one of the most beautiful things which we teach as part of our process is, how do you build systems and processes in place? All right. So can exactly the way Solomon does it, can somebody do that? Maybe not, right? Because Solomon uses his experience and expertise and his own flavor, right? But there's somebody out over there who can get that entire message and then get things done. Rather than Solomon spending so much of time, energy, effort and not getting things done.
Right.
All right. So it's always better to have some awesome team members who resonate very well with you, resonate with your core values with you, and they pick up the thread from there and take it forward.
Right. And they add their flavor as well. So
Absolutely.
That I think brings in the synergy. Wonderful. Absolutely. Wonderful. So another thing, Solomon, you have talked about your dedication towards your fitness and all of that. How important, I mean, if tomorrow you need to move out from a game-based scenario to some other kind of learning, what would that be?
Sure. So the most important thing is, how can you create the environment which involves games, which involves experiences, right? So my entire perspective is going to be, how can we create that experience and how can you make people reflect in that experience? So anything to do with experiences, experiential learning is what I will generally focus on.
Okay.
Right? And then give it a complete digital angle, because digital angle is very, very important for you to grow and scale it up to the ambitions which we have for going to close to around 48 countries. Right? So that's the important element which I would consider.
Okay. And what would be your tip to trainers? I think the field has grown exponentially in the last decade from when you started off to what it's today. L&D is seen in a very different light nowadays, and trainers have a lot more that they can give in. But it's not a traditional classroom learning anymore, that you get 10 people in a conference room and you train them for 2 days and it's done. L&D has evolved a lot over the decade. So, what would be your take to trainers who are just joining the field, or people who are getting into, the role of a L&D specialist? What is your take? What is the best approach that you see going forward would be effective in this field?
Sure. So one of the most important thing for any trainers or training professional is to have super amount of love and passion for impacting people's life.
True.
All right. So if you can understand this particular concept, and for this particular concept, I'll probably pick up a story from my mentor. All right. And the story is about story of a Bumble Bee.
Okay.
Bumble Bee gets up early in the morning and goes in search of food. Right. And which means it goes to a tree, or go to a plant, go to a flower, and then goes to get the nectar in that flower. Right. And then it does that to and fro, to and fro, to and fro every day for millions of times. Right. And that's how it thinks it is his or her way of life.
Right.
Right. In the bargain, what is happening is the bumblebee is actually moving from one flower to the second flower to the third flower and doing cross-pollination.
Right.
And because of which there is new flowers, new plants, new trees, and there is oxygen around everywhere.
True.
Does the bumblebee come to know that it's doing a super awesome job out over there? Well, no. Because there's somebody out over there who super designed it to make the bumblebee as one of the vehicle for a higher cause.
Right.
Right. So trainers, the higher cause is to impact people, transform lives, right? And when you train people, you're actually transforming somebody's life. But you're not only transforming that person's life, you're actually transforming their entire family's life.
True.
Right? And then the entire ecosystems is getting improved in a big, better way. Right? So that's one important thing which the trainers have to do, is be so passionate that they go impact the world. They may start with one person, but that one person could go and impact the entire world.
Entire world. Lovely. I think that's a thought that's going to stay with me for the rest of my career. Thank you for sharing that, Solomon. So, Solomon, you have gone through so much, and it's in real terms, it's a journey. It's a journey of self-development, right? So what I want to know is, and what I would like you to share with us is, what is your, how did the transformation start? What is that step that you would say that started your transformation towards this, contribution to others, or impacting the lives of others?
Sure. So having gone through so much of learning and development myself, I wanted to see if I can implement this learning and help transform somebody's life. So I go back to my story in the year 2001, when I started my learning and development journey. So in my building, there was a boy who used to come, and I used to see him in his school uniform and coming and putting papers. One fine day, I asked him, "Why are you doing this?" And he said, "Sir, my name is Rahul. I stay in a chawl near your place. We are a family of 6. And my father is a security guard earning 3,500 rupees salary, which is not enough for the entire family, not enough for my schools and my tuition fees. So what I do is I get up early in the morning, I go to the station, pick up the entire paper bundle and then come to a building like yours, put the newspapers, and then go to school.
Mm.
And then sometimes in the evening, I go to a grocery shop or some other shop where I get 250 rupees as my monthly salary, which I pay for my school and my tuition fees.
Mm.
And I was quite moved by the thought, by the person. And I took a decision. I said, Rahul, nothing doing. From tomorrow, you will stop working. But he said, sir, what about my fees?
Mm.
I said, don't worry, I'll start paying you the fees.
Mm.
But not only I started paying him the fees, but what I did was, I actually called him in my morning walks and morning run. And I used to give him one book.
Mm.
And I said, go read some chapters of the book and come back and tell me, what did you learn?
Mm.
I used to give him one cassette, and during that time you had the tape recorder, so I gave him a tape recorder and a cassette. I said, I'd listen to this first chapter or first part, and then come back. And that's exactly how I started his journey of personal development.
Wow.
And I found out that he was in 9th standard, and then he managed to complete his 10th standard. Then I asked him, what do you want? He said, sir, I want to complete my graduation. I want to complete my 12th standard and then graduation. So we then put him into the Mumbai Junjunwala College. While he was doing so, we put him into English courses, put him into personality development courses. I invited him to attend some of my programs. And then he completed his 10th standard, completed his 12th standard, completed his graduation. And then after that, I said, what do you want to do? He said, sir, I want to become a postgraduate. I want to do my master's. We got him admissions into the Indira College, and he completed his master's after that.
Wonderful.
And then he started working for pharma companies as a marketing specialist, and he started earning. And over a period of time, he started with 10,000, then 20,000. He started getting a lot of incentives. There were certain months when he earned 70,000 rupees as salaries and incentives.
Wonderful.
But that was not the biggest thing for me. The biggest thing was one fine day he comes back and says, sir, like the way you have transformed my life, I want to go ahead and transform lives of other people. So I want to be a coaching class professor or sir. And then I said, of course, go ahead. And so he started the journey of teaching people out over there. And now he teaches thousands of students, right, who are getting transformed by his awesome energy and awesome inspiration which he gives.
Beautiful.
So when I reflect back on that one person who was my first student, my life got transformed. I could transform one person, and then that's how it triggered that can I transform 1 million lives globally.
Beautiful. And you know, it's not just that one boy's life that you have transformed. You have gone ahead and impacted all the other kids that he has come into contact with. So it's just so beautiful way of giving back. And like I said, only someone who has come from a background of hardships and who knows what it is not to have something can have such a huge heart. So amazing, Solomon. Wonderful
Thank you.
to know about this, and I hope you keep impacting lives like this in a positive way.
Thank you.
One question, personal question now.
Sure.
What do you do in your free time? Do you have any, apart from exercising? Okay, you cannot talk about exercising. So what does Solomon do in his free time? What's the laziness and the leisure for you?
Yeah, so for me, my entire day is actually revolving around my entire health and fitness and exercise regime. So there are days like this Sunday, for example, I did 100 kilometers of cycling, right?
Oh my God.
So there's a lot of planning which goes around it, you know. That's something which is sacrosanct for me on a daily basis. Okay, so that's one. Second is, of course, I love playing chess. Okay. I love playing chess with my daughter. That's the elder daughter. I love doing playing with my younger daughter, and then of course I love going along with on walks with my wife.
Okay.
Out there, and we're discussing about health and fitness and all of that. So there is a beautiful synergy out over there in a big way.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, okay, so even your lazy routines are all about health and fitness. I can never compete with you. Okay, so let's talk about the future,
Sure.
What do the next couple of years look like for SimuRise and for Solomon? Both.
Absolutely. So from a Solomon perspective, my life is going to be revolving around my health and fitness. Right. So I will only do those things which will give me a lot of time to take care of my health and fitness. That's my core passion. That's where my energy comes from. And that's the reason I said for the next 40 years, I will continue to do at least one Ironman per year.
That's so inspiring. Amazing.
All right. So while I'm doing that, the larger goal from a learning and development perspective or from a SimuRise perspective is how can we certify 10,000 learning and development professionals who would go and impact 1 million professionals in 48 different countries.
Wonderful.
Right. And that's the goal which me and my entire team is aiming for.
That's awesome, and all the best. I'm sure you guys will be there pretty soon. So what do you think what does the next decade look like, in your opinion, for the L&D, learning and development field? Or, how do you think it's going to change? What do you think are the evolving trends that are going to impact this field?
Sure. So we are the ATD delegate partners. ATD is the Association for Talent Development, which is the largest body for learning and development professionals worldwide. If you look at the ATD report, Sandhya, essentially we've seen before the pandemic, close to around 60 to 65% used to be into classroom training. And you saw in the pandemic almost turn out to be zero.
Exactly.
All right. And that's exactly what's going to happen is now the tide is changed, that the virtual learning, the game-based learning, the mobile learning ecosystem is going to be having a larger piece of pie. All right. And it's got completely reversed because we're seeing the trend. Of course, right now also still the pandemic is still on. We've got certain organizations approaching us saying that, can you still conduct the classroom training? But it will be probably 80% of virtual environment and 20% maybe in the classroom training environment, which will happen.
Okay. And yeah, I think we are moving towards an era where classroom training is not the preferred learning methodology anymore. And it's wonderful that the game-based learning solutions that you guys have brought forward. It's the best thing that I like is your natural reactions and your natural way of looking at things just comes out in the simulated environment. And I think that's a wonderful way of learning to look at changing your thinking perspective. So beautiful work being done.
One of the most important thing which is also going to happen is no longer maybe there will be those 3-day programs and 4-day programs which we were talking and seeing earlier, right?
Right.
It's going to be all micro learning, and coupled with game-based learning, with experiences. It's going to be an awesome experience for everybody out over there.
Wonderful. So one last question, Solomon. Tell me about your perspective about your experiences have been so varied and coming from such a humble background and moving towards where you are now. Every brick has been laid by you through your hard work. And what's your perspective? What's that one thing that drives you, or that one thing that actually it's the overriding factor in your thinking process? What's that one thing that is your outlook or perspective about life?
For me, it's to be a meaningful person and be of use to the society at large.
And I think that's you said a very simple statement, Solomon, but I think that has so much value attached to it, because only someone who comes from a very humble background can understand what it means to not have something and what it means to actually give back.
True.
And your driving force is giving back and impacting more people, which I think is it's very rare to come across people who think like that nowadays. So it's really my pleasure to be associated with you and have a chance to work with you, learn from you. And your sessions are always so energetic. There is no chance of we don't even realize when time flies by. So, and that's exactly how it's been in this chat as well. It's been wonderful to getting to know you and learn about the struggles. And thank you so much for taking out time to be with us today and sharing your journey. And I'm sure it's going to have a very great impact on entrepreneurs who are seeing our show. So thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much, Sandhya. Thank you so much.
Thank you.